Welcome to Dr. Freedom, where we give you the strategies, mindset, and tactics on how to elevate your practice and your life. I'm Dr. Shitel Patel. I started my practice in a Starbucks over 7 years ago, and I built it brick by brick to a multi-location practice with an aesthetic OR and a software company. I'm here to give you the secrets to unlock that time and freedom for you. All right, so today we're going to talk about buying back your time in terms of using telemedicine in your practice, right? So regardless if you have an aesthetic practice or a medical practice, telemedicine's here to stay. We realized that with COVID and how everything changed with how the accessibility to healthcare is out there and what people are wanting. Think about telemedicine is it saves so much time. Right? Like patients don't have to drive to your office. You don't have to have staff that room them, that do all the other pieces. And then there's the whole, checkout and the other process of it. The entire process is streamlined from that whole piece of it. You can see more patients in that period of time, or even spend more time talking to patients because you're not having to do that other intake portion because they're going to do that on their own. Well, how does telemedicine, how can you use that in your practice right now? Well, a lot of patients, depending on if you're doing insurance or not, in terms of cosmetics, you can use this as a pre-consultation tool, right? Either for your staff, your patient care coordinators to do these meetings with patients to just get a better gauge to see if they qualify, right? One of the biggest controversies right now in terms of the aesthetic field is like, hey, what qualifies as a qualified lead, right? No pun intended, but there's some certain qualifications, whether it's financial, whether it's time-based of like, hey, are they planning to have surgery in the next couple of months? Are they coming from a direct referral, like in terms of that part? And these are all the things that can help determine where you spend your time the best in terms of helping the most people at the stage that they're at. And so that's where telemedicine, some of this stuff can come in terms of a pre-consult phone call versus a Zoom or making sure it's HIPAA compliant and all, right? Or a video conferencing, depending on your EMR. Putting all these things together helps streamline the process in your practice for patients to be able to see you for what you do the best. So the first part is that pre-consultation. Second part is like the post-operative care. There's certain appointments right now that we see patients, it makes it inconvenient for them. They may be in recovery state that we're not really doing anything other than making sure that everything is okay. A lot of that stuff can be done with telemedicine in terms of the 1 week post-op checkup. Even, depending on if you have a drain or not, and if you're taking it out at 2 weeks, then that needs to be in the office. But then you're, 4 or 5 or 6 week follow-up, depending, and getting that part to say, what's the most convenient for patients to resume their lives, and then also making it efficient for you as a practice to provide the best type of care, right? And if they have an issue, then that's something that they can come to the office for, but you can use telemedicine to leverage that software and that content to then take care of patients in the best way, and it'd be easy for them. This also includes that 6-month or 12-month follow-up. Some clinics don't even offer a 12-month follow-up or 6-month follow-up. Now, in doing it telemedicine-wise, you're able to check on them, make sure they're getting the right things they need. If they need anything from scarring or anything else, you're able to offer these things, right? In terms of the next thing that they might need, right? Or they might be curious about in terms of the next operation or something else that they have a question about in terms of skincare or your med spa versus going somewhere else. By offering these convenient options for patients, it also makes it convenient for you as a practice to see the long-term change in these patients, to be able to see all the different pieces of how that you can affect their life with using the convenience of telemedicine. All right, let's get to it. What does AdVital do for your aesthetic practice or med spa? Our current clients are making an extra $60,000 to $65,000 to their bottom line every month over month, because they're able to nurture their current patient base and also amplify their qualified leads. Now reach out to AdVital to learn more. Now that takes me into the next big topic, right? How is AI going to play a role in this telemedicine part? Well, can it do, things like take in, and scribe the note. Well, yeah, they have these AI tools right now that can scribe an entire note from your video conference, can pick out the important areas. They have ones that can make these in terms of medical notes, right? If you can do this in terms of telemedicine, the other application of AI is also being able to do this in office, right? Can it listen in on a visit and being able to record it? Is there a way that these videos can be documented in terms of the electronic medical record? And how does that change our level of care? And then is there a downside, right, in using telemedicine? Well, some people say, it might not be as personal, or I feel like I'm not getting that hands-on doctor feel, whatever. You don't have to do it for everyone, right? The people that feel like they want to see you in person, you can still offer that. But telemedicine is a good adjunct to giving care for patients that may not be convenient for them to come in, right? If they're elderly and they don't have a ride, well, telemedicine might be a good option, right? As long as they understand how to use the iPhones and the applications of being able to get on the calls and having that conversation with you, of being able to see what you need to see. And that's, I think, where it comes down to where the changes are right now. And in terms of medicine itself, there's a bunch of different tools that are coming out. And how are we adopting them as an assist to what we do versus a replacement of pieces of what we do? And I think that's the phase and stage that we're at, to say, hey, is AI going to be good enough to do some of these things in terms of taking the transcription of a note from the audio and making it a medical note and being able to put it in the record and be consistent and concise, but then also having the sign off of the providers themselves after they're able to read them. By doing all this stuff, it removes the hours of paperwork. The hours of paperwork that are needed to do the documentation, to hold these adequate medical records, to say what we're doing. Because the most important part is putting the story together of what this patient came in for, what they wanted, and what their result was, right? And continues to be. What are the next things from our professional opinions after seeing thousands of patients, being trained on all these specialties, to be able to say, this is what's next. These are things I'm looking out for. These are why I'm getting these labs. This is why I'm doing this procedure. This is what goal we're trying to achieve for this patient. By putting all that together, regardless of whether it's in person or by telemedicine, telemedicine is just an adjunct or a tool, right? With this AI being able to then transcribe it and take all that information and make it in the notes. Now we're removing all the friction points of why we can't see more patients or spend more time with them, right? That time in creating that connection on top of giving them the result equals care, right? That is the ultimate care that we want for ourselves, our family members, and anybody else that comes into our clinics. But how do we deliver that at the scale that we need to deliver it so that our practices are successful? And that's why leveraging some of these things in terms of telemedicine, decreasing some of the visits that don't need to happen in the office, right? But you're still checking in on them, making sure they're okay, versus just getting rid of these type of appointments. I mean, some practices around the country only see you 3 times after a surgery, and that's it, right? But I think if you only see people 3 times, you really don't know the quality of the work that you do to say that you can improve on that actual result. And that's hard, right? If you don't have the follow-up, you don't know if a certain prescription or a treatment plan or a surgery is actually the right thing for them, or should it be something else? Should the plan include something different? Should there be a maintenance of something? Should there be a skincare regimen that goes along with it? There's so many different variables that come into play of when the right conversations need to happen, and whether this is just for their overall health and wellness, right? In terms of opportunity to talk about diet and wellness and mentality and hormones or whatever else that may come along that path to give them the best result for themselves. And that result is not just body, it's body and mind. By putting those two things together, that's where you have the best delivery of care in the overall scope of what we actually put together and we call medicine. Doesn't just start and stop in terms of the pieces of the puzzle that we do, but it's also facilitating the next parts of what their healthcare should be like so that they can live the longest in the happiest state, the most confident piece of who they are. And that's how it all kind of comes together in terms of where leveraging telemedicine in terms of different forms, whether it's the pre-consult, the post-op, the 6-month to 12-month, follow-up, or using AI with telemedicine to help decrease the work you actually have to do so you can be present with the patients you have in front of you. Thanks for listening to Dr. Freedom Podcast. I hope you found some value in this podcast, and if you could hit the subscribe button and share with a friend if you found this content valuable.